Okay, this is the supplementary video lecture for Sissonville High School. We didn't meet today, so what I thought I would do is video the lecture that I would have given today, Friday. So this will keep us right on pace. We were talking about the different theories of psychology in class, and I'm going to go back. And I think there was a little bit of confusion, so I want to just kind of clear this up a little bit. We were talking about behaviorism as the third of four major theories in psychology. Now, if you remember, we talked about the first two, structuralism and then functionalism, which focus on thinking and thought processes. If you remember from class on Wednesday, we were making the point that behaviorism and the behaviorists came along and said, well, you can't really measure thinking, so all you can really measure are overt behaviors. And you can actually modify behaviors, and we can measure these changes. Now, if you remember, reinforcement, again, I just kind of want to make this point because I've had a couple of emails, and I think there was a little bit of confusion in class. Simply stated and defined, reinforcement means that we want to increase the chances that a given behavior will happen again. So if I want to increase the chances that you will clean your room, if I'm your parent, then I can give you something that you like. I can give you money. That's positive reinforcement, okay? Positive here simply means that you are giving something. That's all it means. It doesn't mean positive, it doesn't mean good. Positive simply means that you're giving something or you're administering something, with the end goal being to, you can see, giving something. That's positive. So with the end goal being to increase the chances that you'll clean your room. Now, whatever it is that I give you, it has to be something that you like. Like, for example, I could give you money. I could give you food. I could give you an iTunes card. But whatever I'm giving you has to be something that you like. Okay? Negative simply means that you're taking something away or you're removing something. Okay, negative doesn't mean bad necessarily. It simply means, again, that you're removing something or you're taking something away. It's negative. We're removing something. Now, what could I remove or take away from you to increase the chances that you'll clean your room? Well, if you have a bunch of chores that you don't like to do, what I could do is say, okay, if you clean your room and keep it clean for a week, then I will take away your chore of walking the dog, assuming that you don't like walking the dog. That's the thing. With negative reinforcement, whatever I'm taking away or removing, it has to be something that you do not like to do, or it's not going to work. So in this case, if you just really don't like walking the dog, my daughter hates walking the dogs. So what I could do is say, okay, you don't have to walk the dog if you keep your room clean. So that's how reinforcement works. Either way, you're trying to increase the chances that a behavior will happen again. Whether it's coming to class, that was the example I used in class, was attendance, or keeping your room clean, or coming to work on time, whatever the case may be. Now, punishment, on the other hand. With punishment, if you recall, we want to decrease, not increase, but decrease the chances that a behavior will happen again. Okay, the example I think I'm trying to remember that I used in class, I think it was my dog Jake. He pees on people sometimes when he meets them. That's not a good behavior. That's something that I want to, that's a behavior that I want to diminish or decrease. So, the same ideas with positive and negative. Positive doesn't mean good, negative doesn't mean bad. Positive, again, very simply means, again, that we are giving something. Okay, so positive punishment, I could give, for example, let's say that I want to decrease the chances that that you guys will, I don't know, I'm just going to make something up. Decrease the chances that you will curse in class, curse in the classroom. Okay, I could give you something that's positive to decrease the chances that you'll speak inappropriately or curse in class. What could I give you? Well, it has to be something that you don't like, such as extra work. I could give you extra homework. I could give you chores to do around the classroom. It's got to be something that you don't like. Okay? And negative, again, simply means that we're removing something. So The classic example of negative punishment would be grounding. If I'm your parent, for example, and I want to decrease the chances that you will backtalk me, okay, if you, being mouthy to me, I could try to go negative punishment by taking away something or removing something that you like, such as time with your precious cell phone. I could ground you. I could take away your free time to, again, decrease the chances that you'll backtalk, okay, or that you'll, be disrespectful. So again, I'm not trying to beat the horse, but I know that there was some confusion, and I want to make sure that you guys are good on reinforcement and punishment, because you need to be able to understand what they mean and how these variables are manipulated. And these are behaviors. These are behaviors we can measure. Children who are positively punished versus children who are negatively punished. We can look at outcome studies with parents who use these different styles. We could do the same thing with reinforcement. Is positive reinforcement better than using punishment? And we can measure these behaviors. So these are what the behaviorists are talking about. Measuring these behaviors. These are things that we can actually look at and measure and talk about intelligently. Now, the new stuff. We ran out of time in class. I was wanting to get to the last of the four major theories, which is psychodynamic theory. Okay? Sigmund Freud is the man associated with psychodynamic theory. This theory purports that the mind has separate components. You have the conscious, and by definition, conscious means that you are aware. You want to write that down. And unconscious simply means that you're not aware. And Freud talks about the fact that behavior is a lot of the time influenced by the unconscious. He says that we are pulled by these unconscious forces, and a lot of times we end up doing things or feeling certain emotions and we're not even really sure why. Well, it's because of unconscious forces. And psychoanalysis was the technique that he used to pull these unconscious forces to the forefront, to make the person aware of what this stuff was, so that they could eventually feel and function better. So you'll want to jot this down. Psychodynamic theory, a theory of mental events that specifies the continual push and pull interaction among the conscious and unconscious, okay, between conscious and unconscious thoughts and feelings. And also, this theory specifies how such interactions affect or impact behaviors. So, to simplify this definition that you're writing down, you have this constant battle between conscious and unconscious forces that impacts how we feel and how we function, how we behave. So again, the unconscious, I just defined that for you, is simply not being aware or being unaware. Now, there are different defense mechanisms that Freud talks about, and I want to kind of take these one at a time. Now, when we talked about functionalism, I kind of jumped ahead to some of these defense mechanisms. I think we talked about denial specifically. Sometimes the way that we think, the way that we organize our thoughts serve a protective function or serve some kind of function for us. Now, Freud says that these defense mechanisms, and a defense mechanism that I've already given you this definition. I'm going to give it to you one more time here. A defense mechanism is an unconscious attempt that we make to block emotional pain or to avoid emotional pain. The example I used in class was when I was dating this girl. I was popular for a couple of days because she was really attractive. Well, she breaks up with me, and I didn't want to accept that for a while because it hurt. It was painful for me to realize, I'm not as cool as I thought. She doesn't like me. I must not measure up somehow. So it took me a few days to realize that, okay, maybe she really doesn't like me anymore. If you lose a loved one, for example, you don't accept that right away. It's a basic process that we kind of go through. And sometimes it takes us a long time to accept things like the death of a loved one, the termination of a relationship, are two good examples of denial. Displacement is another defense mechanism. Again, largely an unconscious process. Displacement, by definition, refers to the fact that we unconsciously take out our frustrations and aggressions on a safe target. So in essence, we're displacing our anger. Example, your boss yells at you, your teacher yells at you. You can't yell back at them necessarily, so you take it out on a safer target. You take it out on your dog. Maybe you yell at your sibling, your younger brother, your younger sister, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You get mad because something's not working, properly on your computer, so you you slam dunk your computer, or you take your cell phone and throw it across the room because it's slow, it's not moving quickly enough for you, or you get a text that you don't like, so you take it out on the phone and you smash it. Athletes do this. They slam their equipment all the time. They get mad because they strike out, or they make a play that doesn't help the team, or something bad happens. So they take it out on their equipment. Compensation is another defense mechanism that is often utilized. If we feel, and by definition, compensation, if we feel that we have a shortcoming in one area, then we unconsciously try to overdo it in another area. The classic example, I had a guy in therapy who was losing his hair, and he thought he was losing his looks because of that. So to compensate for that, and I don't even think he realized he was doing it, it was an unconscious process, he went out and bought the most expensive sports car he could, thinking that this would somehow bring him back to his prowess, his ability to attract women and to be popular. It did not work for him, by the way. Rationalization. Rationalization is yet another defense mechanism that a lot of us use. When we rationalize, we basically do something or engage in a behavior under the false assumption that, well, everybody else does it too, so why can't I? So we rationalize our behavior. Rationalization simply means to justify what we're doing. Cheating. I've had students say, well, gosh, Mr. Dean, everybody has cheated. And maybe that's true, but probably it's not. Infidelity is another example. I hear people in therapy all the time say, well, everybody cheats, Brandon. Everybody does it, so why can't I? It can't be that bad if everybody else does it. Problem with rationalization is that not everybody else does that. Intellectualization. This is simply trying to articulate or speak intelligently about something and become an expert on something rather than actually dealing with the pain that you're going through. Let me give you an example that might clear that up. Let's just hypothetically say that as a teenager in high school, I had some failed romances. I didn't do very well with the ladies. So instead of dealing with the emotional pain that comes with that, I might undertake an academic, unemotional study of the topic. Maybe do a research paper on it. Give a talk about it. So that's just trying to talk smart about the topic, as opposed to actually dealing with the pain and the process of being rejected. Projection. Sometimes we have biases, we have feelings of bitterness, we have maybe phobias even, and instead of recognizing those within ourselves, we find those faults in other people. I'll give you an example of projection. Think of a projector. It projects an image onto something else. I knew a guy who was really, really homophobic. He was afraid of gay people, and instead of dealing with that himself and admitting to himself that he had a problem with gay people, he would find other people and say things like, well, I think that person's a homophobe. I can't believe that person doesn't like gay people. That person's so close-minded. And he would project his feelings onto other people instead of realizing that or admitting that he himself was homophobic. And again, these are all unconscious processes. These are all defense mechanisms that we all engage in to some extent to protect ourselves from feeling emotional pain. And I'll end with this slide here. I'm not trying to be offensive with Alzheimer's, because we all know people who have Alzheimer's disease. Humor. Sometimes we make ourselves the butt of a joke, even unknowingly, unconsciously, to avoid dealing with the pain. If you've ever been picked on or teased, sometimes it's easier just to go along with it. Be like, ah, yeah, you're right. Maybe I am fat, or maybe I am stupid. Ah. That way you don't really have to deal with the pain, and people kind of move on. They don't pick on you as much. I knew a man who had Alzheimer's, for real, and he had some insight into it, and he would, it was painful for him because he knew that he would forget things, and it was really hard for him. So he made a joke out of it. He would always say things just like this. He would say, yeah, I have Alzheimer's, but I get to meet new people every day. And and he would kind of laugh at himself. That was his way of dealing with the problem. So, and then the last slide. These are some other schools of thought. This is right out of your textbook in Table 1, so you can look at it. We've talked about a few of these: structuralism, functionalism, behaviorism, and then the psychodynamic stuff. I covered the big four, but this chart kind of gives you some other schools of thought. We're not going to go over in class, but kind of look at these and be familiar with them. And we'll go ahead and call that the end of this part. This is what we would have covered today in class Friday, so this keeps us right on pace. Make sure that you take notes, just like just like just as if this were an in-class session. So we'll call that the end. Thank you very much.